Hello, I'm Sarah, a 45-year-old successful businesswoman. I run a thriving company with my best friend Georgie. However, my life wasn't always like this. 3 years ago, my husband left me, and in my pursuit of revenge, I found a new beginning. But let's start from the beginning. I met Steve in high school. We often crossed paths but didn't start a relationship until about 10 years later, at our high school reunion. I remembered him as a nerdy, skinny guy, so I was pleasantly surprised to see him taller and more muscular. We got to talking, and Steve shamelessly flirted with me, which I liked. I flirted back, and before long, we had set up a date for the next day. We met at a gorgeous Italian restaurant, enjoying pasta, wine, and each other's company. We shared the same interests, and during that date, I asked him about his big dream. "So tell me, what's your big dream?" I asked. "Oh, that's something I have to think about," he replied. "Come on, you must have some sort of big dream that nags you every day." "Well, what's yours?" "Give me an example." "I want to own my own house." "Now it's your turn." "Not a bad dream. Then I guess I want to run my own successful business. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck." "Oh, I get that. Maybe if we last, I could help you with that." "I would like that. Not because you'd help me. I don't really care about that. I would like us to last." I couldn't help but smile. With a degree in business management, I had the knowledge, and Steve worked a minimum wage job doing data entry. I understood the struggle of living paycheck to paycheck, having grown up that way. I liked him and wanted to help him. That one date turned into many more, and soon we were practically living together. Eventually, I asked him to move into my larger apartment. About a year and a half later, I decided to help Steve start a business. We spent months brainstorming ideas, and I invested a portion of my savings into the venture. Steve had friends who were willing to help and invest too. I remember the night we registered his business. It was nerve-wracking, but we knew we had each other. We poured long hours into the business, and though it didn't take off immediately, we persevered. Gradually, we began to gain traction, and soon we were hiring more employees. When we had about 10 employees, Steve was thrilled. I laughed and told him he was capable of much more. To celebrate our achievement, Steve took me back to the Italian restaurant where we had our first date. It was there that he proposed to me. I was beyond happy and cried as I said yes. Juggling a fledgling company and wedding planning was tough. We lost countless nights of sleep and even considered eloping. But we wanted a big celebration. A year after our engagement, we had our dream wedding, surrounded by family and friends. Afterward, we focused fully on the business, and our hard work paid off. We started making millions. With our newfound wealth, the first thing we did was buy our own house. As the business grew, we were able to step back a bit. Then one day, Steve approached me. "We need to talk about something." "Is everything okay?" I asked, concerned. "Yeah, it's just that I think you should stay home." "Why?" "Am I doing something wrong?" "No, it's just that you deserve to rest. You've been working so hard." "But I love working with you." "I do too, but I don't work much anymore, and you still do." "I don't like that." "So you want me to quit because you feel emasculated?" "No, I just want you to relax a little. You deserve it. Please for me." Reluctantly, I agreed. I took my new free time seriously, reading, catching up on shows, and treating myself to spa days. But along with the relaxation came a nagging feeling that something was wrong with Steve. He began withdrawing from me, spending less time at home and more at work. Or so I thought. One night, he came home from an office party reeking of alcohol and a woman's perfume. "Why do you smell like a woman? Is there something you need to tell me?" I asked. "What? No, nothing like that." "Is that a lipstick stain on your neck?" "Of this, some girl was dared by her friends to do it. And you just let it happen." I wasn't going to deny a woman a free drink. Unbelievable. "Are you sure nothing else happened? Are you accusing me of cheating? How dare you?" "No, I just wanted to be reassured." "Just leave me. I'm going to sleep." I just wanted reassurance, but Steve's defensiveness only made me more suspicious. My heart ached at the thought that he might be cheating on me. I hoped and prayed to every god that it wasn't true, but as days passed, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling. Some days, Steve still came home smelling like another woman. Eventually, my curiosity got the better of me. I hired a private investigator. I know it was a gross violation of trust, but I needed to know. If Steve refused to tell me, I'd find out myself. The PI followed Steve around for a month. I wanted to know everything at the end of the month so I wouldn't have to endure the pain of hearing bad news repeatedly. That month was the longest month ever. Each day felt like an eternity, but eventually we reached the end. The PI asked to meet at a crowded cafe. I arrived early and waited anxiously. When he finally arrived, he carried a large folder. Inside were pictures of Steve kissing, going on dates, and even entering hotels with various women. My stomach dropped. I felt like throwing up. The PI looked at me with sympathy, but it got worse. I recognized the women. They were our employees. What was Steve thinking? Did he not realize how badly he was jeopardizing the company? Most of all, I was beyond hurt that he was cheating on me. Was this why he asked me to stop working, so he could sneak around behind my back? I was disgusted by what I had learned. It was a gross misuse of power dynamics in the workplace, and the betrayal after all the sacrifices I made for him was cruel. The following weeks were a blur of crying, sleeping, ice cream, and binge-watching TV. I don't know how the idea came to me, but after weeks of wallowing, I knew I couldn't keep feeling sorry for myself. Maybe confronting him would help. Maybe if he realized he would lose me, he'd change. Ha! What a fool I was. Steve, I need you to sit down and listen to me. Make it quick. I have somewhere to be. Yeah, probably at one of your young employees' houses. What? Yeah, I know about your affairs, which, by the way, is gross. Just because you make a lot of money now doesn't mean you get to abuse that power and take advantage of your employees, or to even forget how you got to this position in the first place. Look, I wasn't even trying to keep this a secret. I'm just surprised it took you so long to figure it out. Even you didn't care about me. Don't take this the wrong way, but after getting my position, I realized my worth. I deserve so much better than you. Excuse me. Well, you're not ugly, but you're also not exactly attractive to me. Anyway, what do you want to do about this situation? You are unbelievable. Does our relationship mean anything to you? It was fun while it lasted. I'm guessing you want a divorce. Don't worry, the papers will be here by tomorrow at the latest. As a token of gratitude, you can have the house. I have to go. Bye. I was burning with anger. I wanted to hurt him. I didn't care how. I needed to get back at him. All my sadness and hurt turned into an intense anger that made my skin feel like it was on fire. In the days I waited for the divorce papers to arrive, I started plotting my revenge. My first idea was to target his business. His business had changed him and made him this entitled man. So I would tear it down and through it, tear him down. I would love to watch him crash and burn. Since I already had experience starting a business, thanks to the late nights spent with Steve, starting a second one would be a piece of cake. This time, instead of being two inexperienced people, I invited my best friend Georgie, who had opened many successful businesses herself, to help me out with my new venture. I decided to let Georgie be the CEO because I needed my name to be less visible so I could silently take down Steve's company. By the time Steve and I had settled our divorce, I was the owner of our house. I decided to sell it and use the money as an investment in my new firm. It was beyond risky, and I lost a lot of sleep in the first few months, but our sharp business minds allowed Georgie and me to make smart decisions. Pretty quickly, our company began to grow and make huge profits. Another thing to note was that Steve's company began to nosedive. Steve partied too hard and began to neglect his job, which is probably why he never saw us as a true rival. If I had been in his place, a company like mine would have made me panic, but Steve was too busy partying and sleeping with any young woman who gave him attention. Georgie and I steadily expanded our firm, hiring more people and expanding our markets. We also monitored the stocks of Steve's company closely. Georgie and I came up with our next course of action after a few too many glasses of wine. You know, I am grateful for you, I said. Oh honey, I hardly did much. Most of this is your hard work. Plus, I would never turn down the opportunity to get back at Steve. You never really liked him, did you? I'm just saying he manipulated you into funding his firm and working there for free. It was so risky, and then he completely ditched you. Are you sure this is all the revenge you want to get on him? What do you mean? We're beating his firm in the markets and will soon be the #1 firm. What more can we do? Look, this is the kind of revenge a friend would get on their other crappy friend, not the kind of betrayed wife would get on her ex-husband. How about we buy out his company? Buy him out? How are we possibly going to do that? We don't have that kind of money, and I don't think Steve would be willing to give up his cash cow. We definitely don't have the money to buy it outright, and I think the same about Steve. But you know what we do have money for? Stocks. How much? We buy a majority of the stocks, and then we get to make executive decisions. Holy cow, you're a genius. I definitely am. You're welcome. It took a couple of months of monitoring Steve's company stocks, and we began to see a huge dip in the prices. We decided to swoop in and buy about 25% of the stocks. This gave us an exclusive veto and a place at the table to make executive decisions as planned. With each passing month, Steve's neglect of his company worsened its profits. They eventually had to ask us for funds to keep the company afloat. Did we have the funds? Of course. Did we give it to them? Of course not. We also blocked their efforts to raise funds via their other investors and stockholders. As a result, their company began to crash. Georgie and I watched gleefully as they struggled to stay afloat. Desperation set in, and Georgie requested a meeting with Steve's board of directors. Steve never showed up, but in a last-ditch effort to save the company, the board decided it was best to sell. Since Georgie and I held the majority vote, Steve's input wasn't needed. We bought the company for practically nothing. The rush of happiness and satisfaction at what we had accomplished was overwhelming. Just 2 days after the paperwork for buying Steve's company was processed, Steve showed up at my house. I don't know how he found my address because after my business took off, I bought myself a new house, known only to a few family members and Georgie. I figured Steve reached out to one of my family members who inadvertently gave him my address. Steve, what are you doing here? I don't know how to tell you this. It's embarrassing, actually. Spit it out, Steve. I don't have time for this. Well, I've been thinking a lot recently. That's really good. Wow, I'm so proud of you. Please let me speak. I've been thinking, and I realize that I really miss having you in my life. If you don't mind, would you come back to me? How come the sudden missing? Is it because your company is dying? How do you know about the company? The situation hasn't been released anywhere yet. Well, to answer your first question, I'm not interested in coming back to you. To answer your second question, you're going to miss more than me. You're going to miss your company. Huh? I just bought it. What? Oh, Steve, you really should have paid more attention to your firm instead of partying and sleeping around. Why would you do that? You knew it was my biggest dream to own a successful company. You were unbelievable. I tried to tell you it was unfair that you were leaving me after I helped you start your business, but you didn't care. Neither do I right now. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. I shut the door in Steve's face with a smirk. It was exhilarating to watch Steve fall from his high horse. In the days that followed, my company officially bought Steve's, and the media was made aware of everything. Steve tried contacting me multiple times, but I just blocked him. Eventually, all the employees he slept with came forward and spoke about their experiences with Steve. The public was outraged. They sued him for gross misconduct, and Steve lost a lot of money in settlements. Steve struggled to get back on his feet. He even emailed me asking for financial help, claiming I was responsible for his downfall. I wrote him a strongly worded email, making it clear he was the only one responsible for his situation. I refused to help him and warned that if he continued to contact me, I would report him for harassment. It's been a few months since all this transpired. I thought it would hurt to see Steve struggle, but it actually felt freeing. I don't know what's happening with him anymore, but I do know that I'm thriving. My business is doing great, and Georgie and I are working towards taking the company even higher. For the longest time, I let Steve's words and thoughts of me affect me, but it took a huge push for me to see otherwise. Never doubt yourself and never be too afraid to take a risk. You never know how life will reward you.